Hi, I'm Jacob Hornberger, Libertarian candidate for president. As you can see, I'm on the road again. Can't wait to get back on the road again. Okay, so I didn't miss my calling. But, you know what this means. You get an on-the-road commentary. I'm heading home with my little Princess Cassie. And I thought I'd give you a little commentary. My latest insights into the circus that's coming to town. Okay, that's the Libertarian Party circus, two-ring circus. Robert Kennedy Jr. and Donald Trump. The Libertarian Party hierarchy is bringing the circus to town, to Washington, D.C. Very, very exciting. And so I thought I'd give you a couple of insights that I've come up with about the circus. I'm a duplicate bridge player, and I was at a local tournament a couple of days ago, and the tournament was about to start, and one of my opponents sitting at the table, a woman who knows me, turned to me and said, "Can you explain to me why it is that your party is inviting Donald Trump to be a speaker at your convention?" And of course, I only had 30 seconds to answer, but even if I had 3 hours, I wouldn't know what to say to her. I just shook my head. And thankfully, the tournament started a few seconds later. So I was off the hook because I have no explanation to give her. I mean, this is the most bizarre thing I have ever seen in my life. It's just weird. We are running a campaign against these people, a presidential campaign. We're running against them. And we invite them into our party to seek the support of our party. And Trump's buying this. I mean, that's his mindset, and it's I don't blame him at all. That in a magazine article called WashingtonMonthly.com, which I would invite you to read about this whole controversy, they point out that Trump is expressing thanks that he's coming to the convention because he's saying, we're in this together. Me and the Libertarians, we're out to defeat Joe Biden, restore the presidency to the Republicans, and I'm going down there, and we're going to work together to win this election. Why wouldn't he think that? And I'm sure that's what that lady was thinking when she asked me that question. It's very logical. And here's the other thing. The article pointed out that Angela McArdle, the head of the Libertarian Party chairman, essentially endorsed Trump because she came out with a statement that said Trump would be a better president than Biden. There's your endorsement right there. Okay? I mean, she is saying this is in a race between Biden and Trump that the Libertarian Party is going with Trump. Okay. Okay? Now, I don't think you could find a better case of sabotage than that. Now, I'm not saying it's intentional sabotage of the party or sabotage of the presidential campaign, but I'm saying it's negligent homicide. No, Freudian slip. Well, it is homicide. I mean, it's the killing of a presidential campaign. I think it's the killing of a party. But it's at least negligent sabotage. Because think about what she's doing here. Every single Trumpista is going to vote for Donald Trump. They're not going to say, oh, the Libertarian Party is so nice to invite Trump. You know, what we really need to do is reward them with a few votes. They're not going to do that. Trump's going to be saying the system's rigged, the election's rigged. We need a tsunami of votes. Don't waste your vote on the Libertarians. We're all in this together, he's going to say. Libertarians and me. They invited me to their convention. They're with me. And so what about the people, the millions of voters who hate Trump? You can kiss them away. They're not going to come and vote for us if we're pro-Trump. Duh. And so this is what McArdle has done. She's cost us all the votes of the millions of people who hate Trump, who are natural voters, if they also hate Biden. This is what I call negligent sabotage. Now, it doesn't surprise me that the Libertarian Party hierarchy favors Donald Trump. They're on the same page as he is. I mean, this is what I've been saying for over a year now, that this reset in Reno, the reset regime, which I had high hopes for. I mean, I went and bought a lifetime membership. They promised that they were going to restore the original founding brand of principled libertarianism, the principles that I'm standing for. But it was immediate. that they made it clear they were going to continue running the party in a right-wing direction. Which was phenomenal, because at the same time as doing this, they're criticizing Gary Johnson, Bill Weld, Bob Barr, Republicans, but they're recruiting Republicans to come in and run as libertarians. I wrote about this in my series of Substack columns, substack.com, last year, and they share the same positions as these guys. School vouchers, taking over the public school system, immigration reform, Social Security reform, Medicare reform, healthcare reform, drug war reform, monetary reform. This is their message. And especially on immigration, which is why they have such a deep antipathy toward my campaign, because I'm favoring genuine libertarian principles. So it doesn't surprise me that the right wing would love Trump. They're on the same page. What has befuddled me, and this is one of my new insights, is why are there regular rank and file people supporting this? And because there's a lot of opposition in the party, and this is very encouraging to me. But there's some people that are very well intentioned. I know them. They mean well. They love this party. They want the party to do well. Why would they support bringing in an opposing presidential campaign to seek support from our party members, donations from, in other words, undermining our own presidential campaign? And I think that the reason is that they have come to view our convention as a conference, as if we were like a think tank or an educational foundation or a membership organization. That's the new mantra. That hey, we got to get members. We got to get members. We're like the Optimist Club or the Kiwanis or Rotary. And so you get a big name speaker, and all of a sudden you attract a lot of people. And I think that's the way they're seeing it. And I run an educational foundation. I know that feeling. You get a big name speaker, and all of a sudden you're attracting a lot more people. And that's the way they're seeing this. Because the presidential race, I think everybody has thrown in the towel, except me. I haven't thrown in the towel. But everybody has thrown in, most everybody has thrown in the towel. Because they're seeing what I've been saying from the beginning of this campaign, that we're 0 to 1% in the polls. And that means voter sentiment has not changed over the last 3 years. It's actually gotten worse. In one poll, we're at 0%. I think we're probably like about 0.5%. So voter sentiment is not going to change over the next 5 or 6 months. We already know the results in November for the LP candidate, unless we change directions. This is what I keep saying. That if you want a massive breakout in votes, you have to change directions. There's no other way. You stay in the same direction, you're going to get to 0 to 1%. Well, the party hierarchy and a lot of people in the party have come to realize that I'm right on that. And so the Libertarian Party presidential campaign has become a joke, because you see, they don't buy what I say. I say it doesn't have to be this way. That if we change directions completely, we can achieve a breakout of 10 to 15%. They don't believe that. They don't have any confidence. They hate the principles I'm enunciating. They don't even want to think about going down that road. But they know I'm right about the 0 to 1%. You know who gets this is Justin Amash. Now, Justin Amash is a smart guy. He comes in with this reform message that has come to define our party, defines my presidential opponents in this race: immigration reform, monetary reform, education reform, Social Security reform, reform. He's going back now. He's back in the Republican Party, running for U.S. Senate as a Republican, because he figured out what I figured out, that this reform message cannot garner votes with an L next to your name in a general election. Okay? People are just not going to do it. So he knew he would get 0.5%, 1%, 2% at the most. Goes back to the Republican Party, where this message, which is Republican light, reform-oriented, libertarian socialism, is very popular. He's at 7% right now. The guy that's beating him is at 24%. But he's got, till August. But he's got a shot there. If he had run as a libertarian, he'd have had no shot at all because of his message. And so people have figured that out, including the party hierarchy. So it's clear they're looking beyond November. And so you can see this, for example, in California, at the California LP convention, which was run by a guy named Adrian Malagon. He creates this debate fundraising scheme where he says, I'm only going to limit the presidential debate during the convention to 2 presidential candidates, LP candidates. And then the third slot will be given to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in the debate. Libertarian Party presidential debate. When Kennedy isn't even a libertarian. He's not even vying for the Libertarian Party nomination. But he's in the debate. It's bizarre. But it mocks and it ridicules the presidential candidacies, the race in our party, because they know it's a joke, 0 to 1%. The Libertarian Party hierarchy has instituted a similar type scheme, fundraising scheme, that makes a mockery out of the presidential race. They're saying only the top 5 fundraisers for the party get to share their views with the delegates at the convention. The other 3, you're out. You can't share your views. Why? Because it's a joke. The presidential race has become a joke and just a way to raise funds for the party by manipulating donors of the candidates to induce them to vote, to donate to the party, which they might otherwise might not do. So when you have that mindset that the presidential race is a joke, 0 to 1%, it's going to be a 0 to 1%. Keep in mind that my message at every convention is I'm with the 99% who reject this message. You know, I reject it as completely as they do. And so if you have that mindset that it's 0 to 1%, then you start thinking in terms of what can we do in November? And that's where this endorsement of Trump comes in, and inviting Trump. That Trump has a good chance of being reelected president. So now they're vying for opportunities, positions. And the WashingtonMonthly.com article, which I highly recommend you read, the title of it is something like, How Many Political Parties Can Trump Corrupt? And they're talking about the Libertarian Party is now becoming corrupt with Trump's influence. That they talk about Rechtenwald being the anointee of the Mises caucus that, of course, put in the people there in the Libertarian Party hierarchy and the LNC and so forth. That they're saying Rechtenwald's job in this campaign, if he wins the nomination, is just going to be a wingman for Trump, which stands to reason because they're both on the same page on immigration, which is the big issue for Rechtenwald and the Mises caucus. And I mean, and the party hierarchy, they want to move the Libertarian Party into the Republican camp. They want to make this the new Republican Party on the issue of immigration. So Rechtenwald wrote an article, and although he's trying to downplay it now, he wrote an article in Chronicles magazine, right-wing rag, called What Next for the Right? You can Google that too, by Michael Rechtenwald, where he was counseling a Republican president, Trump or DeSantis at that time, saying, look, this is what you need to do. You need to finish the wall, which of course involves eminent domain stealing of people's property. And you need to seal the border, which of course means the military. And we need to evict all illegal immigrants, which of course entails a massive investigation headed by ICE, FBI, and other investigative agencies. Well, that's Trump's position. So what the Washington Monthly article pointed out, that Rechtenwald's position will serve as wingman. That was the phrase they used, the wingman for Donald Trump, to protect his flank. And that the result of this, it'll be much like the way Bill Weld was supporting Clinton when he was the vice presidential nominee of the party. That the whole thrust will be in the presidential race to get Trump elected. And then at that point, Trump rewards the party hierarchy, Angela McArdle and Rechtenwald and Dave Smith and others, with positions in the Trump administration. And then they say, see, you see what a success our strategy was? Look, we've got libertarians in the government and we're influencing people in the libertarian direction. We should be celebrating. And then they'll get invited to state conventions and be praised and glorified as being part of the machinery that has destroyed our freedom. And what will happen to the Libertarian Party? What then for the party? It'll be a carcass. What will it serve? As a way to just extol the virtues of having LP members up there in the Trump administration as part of the welfare warfare state machinery that has destroyed our freedom? We will have become permanently acclimated to becoming serfs. We will be celebrating our own serfdom because we will be celebrating the continuation of the welfare warfare state way of life, and we will know that we didn't fight to dismantle these infringements on freedom. We fought to get people appointed to offices within that machinery. We'll become members of the hive. And the Libertarian Party will be a carcass, just a carcass. Okay. I reject all this. And you see, It is my conviction. I've been to all these state conventions, I don't know, 30 or so. And what I've noticed, okay, the extreme right wing and much of the right wing, they're not going to change. They loathe what I stand for, which are the real genuine principles of libertarianism. They don't deny that, but they loathe these principles, loathe them, just like Donald Trump does. But I've noticed that I would say 90% of the people in the party are really well-intentioned. They want success for the party, like I do, but they've been guided in the wrong direction. They've been taught to believe that our principles are albatrosses, they're liabilities, they can't garner votes, and therefore we need to water them down. We need to be practical, we need to be pragmatic. Our job's to get votes, but it hasn't worked. So they got the worst of all worlds. You've got watered down Republican-like principles with 0 to 1% of the votes. So what good is it? But you see, the mistake has been targeting Republicans for votes. And the Republicans are never going to vote for libertarians, whether you run a campaign of principle or a campaign of Republican light and reform. Republicans are never going to vote for libertarians. And neither are well-to-do Americans. Libertarianism is just perceived as too radical. And neither are seniors. One of the funniest parts of this debate process is when one of my opponents said, Jacob's going to cost us the vote of the seniors because he wants to immediately abolish socialism, Medicare, and all other socialist programs. It's like La La Land. Seniors are not going to vote for us. What I'm saying is restore the founding principle of this party, open borders, separate healthcare in the state, money in the state, economy in the state, education in the state, legalize all drugs, and dismantle the national security state, restore a limited government republic with a basic military force, immediately dismantle all socialist programs, but then change your target audience, okay? Change your target audiences totally. Number one, migrant families, okay, with open borders. Then 2, blacks, and emphasize the racial bigotry of the drug war and how we've opposed the drug war from the beginning, how we would legalize all drugs, and the end of this racial bigotry, this Jim Crow. People who don't vote, big, massive voters for us, but they'll never vote for a libertarian reformer. Never happen. They want to see a candidate that's going to dismantle these things, not reform them. And for the poor people, the people suffering ravages of inflation, go to them and make the case for sound money. Not just end the Fed, which is a trite saying. Separate money in the state the way Hayek recommended. Now you're talking about the possibility of a massive shift toward the Libertarian Party. 10 to 15%, okay, using our principles. And fighting against Trump. Trump should never be an invitee at our convention, or a guest, or an honored guest. This man is the enemy, just like Biden is, just like Kennedy is. These are the people that have destroyed our freedom, who are enslaving us with their welfare warfare state. And they're not going to change. And vying to be part of their machinery is not freedom. It is the antithesis of freedom. Now, where does Bobby Kennedy fit in all this? Because they invited him too. His immigration position is the same as Trump's. It's the same as Rechtenwald's. It's the same as in principle, all of my opponents. He favors immigration controls, like all of my opponents do, like the party hierarchy does. And they love him for it. You know, when he said that he's not going to let one illegal immigrant get into the country, they love that. That's why they're relishing. That's why they invite him to speak at our conventions on this immigration issue. And then here's the other kicker, the vaccine. Now this is a really important issue for the extreme right wing in our party. They take the position, the extreme right wing, that the people who took the vaccine, and they say this publicly without any reservations at all, that the people who took the vaccine are dumb dupes of the state. That's what they say, dumb dupes of the state. Now, again, show me how you could better sabotage the party than that, and the presidential campaign than that, because that's 270 million Americans that took the vaccine. How many of those 270 million people are going to vote Libertarian and vote for our presidential candidate, and I'm hoping I'm that candidate, when they're being called dumb dupes of the state? 0. There's an old saying, nothing worse can befall a good cause than to have it ineptly defended. And these extreme right-wingers do not know how to defend libertarianism. Libertarianism is not pro-vaccine and it's not anti-vaccine. It's just pro-freedom. Leave people free to make their own choice. Just get rid of the mandates, separate healthcare in the state, get government at all levels out of healthcare, and leave people free to make their own decisions. You don't alienate anybody with that position. You can garner votes from pro-vaccine people and anti-vaccine people. Both. Smart politics. And it's good libertarianism. It's solid libertarian. These people, the extreme right wing, they don't know how to defend libertarianism. They only know how to defend conservatism and authoritarianism. And then here's the kicker. Kennedy also stands for a massive investigation into every single doctor or government official that advised people to take the vaccine. But the extreme right wing in our party takes it further. They want an investigation and they want to punish them. Okay, they no trials. One guy was also on a debate stage, on the presidential debate stage at one of the presidential debates at a state convention. It's on video where anybody in the world can watch this. And this guy says that he wants to send all these people that advise people to take vaccine to Guantanamo Bay. This is the extreme right wing in our party. That means that's sending a message to people that the Libertarian Party stands in favor of torture, which Trump obviously favored, a torture camp at Guantanamo, indefinite detention, no trials, military tribunals when they feel like having them, and or even execution. Okay, and punish him for something that might not even be a trial. I mean, a criminal offense on the books. Doesn't matter to them. Just send them to Guantanamo Bay with just an accusation. It's incredible. I mean, show me how you can better sabotage the party. An intentional saboteur could not do a better job than that. Because how many of those doctors that prescribed the COVID vaccine and the pharmacies that sold the vaccine are going to vote libertarian when they hear that kind of stuff? Zero. This is what I call negligent sabotage. Negligent homicide of a presidential campaign and a party. What I'm saying is we need to reject this if we want to do well, if we want to prosper. There really is a conflict of visions here, and I've been saying that also at conventions, that this is where the soul searching comes in, that the 90% of the rank and file, the extreme right wing and much of the right wing are never going to change. They loathe what I stand for, just as Donald Trump loathes what I stand for, Robert Kennedy Jr. There's another factor about Kennedy. He's a big supporter of the welfare state, just like my opponents are. He supports Social Security and Medicare. They want to continue it for one generation. He wants to continue it forever. What's the difference? In one generation, we're probably extending to 2 generations anyway. And so does Donald Trump. Makes it clear he's going to save Social Security and Medicare. One of my opponents, when I said we need to repeal these socialist programs, called that a crappy position. And all of my opponents favored that answer. Okay, because they feel that they need to keep the socialist program intact the same way Kennedy does. Now, Kennedy extols President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who was responsible for the conversion of America to a welfare state. We lived without socialism for more than 100 years, and Roosevelt converts it to a welfare state. Massive welfare state, beginning with Social Security, but it was a fascist program too. His so-called New Deal program was a combination of socialism and fascism. He had the National Recovery Act with its infamous Blue Eagle, which was declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court, the Agricultural Adjustment Act, socialism and fascism. And Kennedy he praises Roosevelt. So does Donald Trump. So do Republicans. So do Libertarians. We have a candidate in the race that pays homage to Roosevelt by naming his campaign after his New Deal. Okay? I mean, despite the fact this is the guy that nationalized gold too. Roosevelt did. We had a gold coin, silver coin standard. It was the soundest money system in history. He made it a criminal offense to own gold. And made paper money the standard, which has produced an inflationary holocaust ever since. All right? So this shows you what's going on with this party. So there's a conflict of visions. The rank and file, the 90% that hold really the reins of power ultimately in this presidential race, and really for the future of this party, that hold it in their grasp, have to do some soul searching. Every one of you needs to do some soul searching. I've said this at the state conventions. that I know that many of you lean toward keeping the party in the same direction, the right-wing direction, the reform-oriented direction. I'm telling you, it's a road to defeat. It's a road to disaster. You got a conflict of visions here. And the other vision is what I'm saying: restore the founding principles of this party, the brand of principled libertarianism on which this party was founded. Build a house of rock, okay, instead of this left-right meandering sand. Build it on rock, and then run a presidential campaign that lets the American people know this is where we stand, and this is why we stand here, and we are the ones to lead America out of this morass that Donald Trump and Joe Biden and Robert Kennedy and all their parties and their ilk have plunged our nation. We have the ability, with our principles, to lead America out of this morass and onto the greatest reaches of freedom, peace, prosperity, and harmony that mankind has ever seen. That's the vision that I contend we should be taking to the American people in this presidential race. I'm Jacob Horton, Libertarian candidate for president. My campaign website is jacobforliberty.com.